Every year I see Chevy owners come into the shop needing a new battery, and almost every single time it is the same story. The battery was only 2 or 3 years old, they thought it was fine. Then one morning, nothing. Just that awful slow crank and a dead dashboard. The average car battery in this country lasts about 3 to 5 years. But I have personally seen batteries in Chevrolets go 8, 9, even 10 years. And the difference between a 3-year battery and a 10-year battery comes down to a handful of things that cost almost nothing to do. Number 1. Clean your terminals twice a year. This is the easiest thing on the list and probably the most ignored. Pop your hood right now on your Silverado or Equinox or Malibu and look at your battery terminals. If you see white, green, or blue crusty buildup around those posts, that corrosion is literally choking the connection between your battery and everything electrical in your Chevy. I clean terminals at every oil change in my shop because it takes about 5 minutes. Disconnect the negative cable first, then the positive. Mix a tablespoon of baking soda into a cup of hot water, grab a $5 terminal brush from any auto parts store, and scrub until you see clean, shiny metal on both the posts and the inside of the cable clamps. Rinse with clean water and dry everything off. Now here is where I see people mess up. Dielectric grease is a fantastic corrosion preventer, but it is non-conductive. That means you apply it after you reconnect everything, as a thin coating over the outside of the assembled terminal. Never smear it between the post and the clamp where the metal meets metal. That would insulate the connection and make things worse. I also like those cheap felt terminal washers that sit around the base of each post. They are $2 or $3 a pair, and they absorb acid vapor before it reaches the connection. Cheap insurance. One more thing while you are in there. Those terminal bolts have a proper tightness. For top post batteries, you want them snug with zero wiggle but not cranked down hard. The posts are soft lead and they crack if you overdo it. Side post terminals on older Chevrolet trucks only have 4 or 5 threads of engagement, so be gentle there too. Never use an impact gun on battery terminals, ever. Number 2. Check your hold-down bracket. This one surprises people. Open your hood and push the battery sideways. If it moves at all, you have a problem. That hold-down bracket exists because vibration is one of the biggest battery killers out there. When a battery bounces around while you drive, the internal plates shed material, the separators break down, and sulfation accelerates. I have seen batteries rated for 5 years fail in 2. Just because the hold down was loose or missing entirely. This takes 10 seconds to check, and it should happen at every oil change. If the bracket is missing, replacements are cheap at any parts store. Tighten it down snug. If you push the battery and it does not budge, you are good. Number 3, stop making only short trips. This is a big one, and I don't think enough Chevy owners realize how much damage short trips do. Every time you start your engine, the starter motor pulls between 150 and 350 amps of burst current from the battery. That is a massive hit, and your alternator needs sustained driving time at moderate to high revolutions per minute to put that energy back. If your daily commute is 5 or 10 minutes of city driving, the alternator literally cannot recover what the starter took. Do that every single day, and your battery lives in a state of chronic undercharge. Over time, sulfation crystals build up on the plates inside the battery and permanently reduce its capacity. I had a customer a while back who drove less than 2 miles to work every day. He went through 4 batteries in 4 years and could not figure out why. Once we put him on a maintainer at home, his next battery lasted over 3 years and was still going strong when he traded the truck in. The minimum drive time to meaningfully recharge after a cold start is about 20 to 30 minutes at highway speed. And here is something important. Idling does not count. At idle, your alternator is barely producing enough current to run the accessories, let alone recharge the battery. One way I describe it to customers is that trying to charge your battery at idle is like trying to fill a swimming pool with a garden hose. It technically works, but you will be there forever. If you mostly make short trips, take your Chevy out on the highway for at least 30 minutes once a week. Or, and this ties into a tip coming up later, use a battery maintainer at home between drives. If you are picking up useful tips, hit that subscribe button. I put out Chevy maintenance videos every week. Number 4. Heat is destroying your battery and you probably do not know it. This is the one that surprises almost every customer I explain it to. Everyone blames cold weather for killing batteries, but the truth is that heat does the real damage. Summer is when the destruction happens. The failure just does not show up until the first cold morning. Here is why. The acid fluid inside your battery slowly evaporates in the heat. The lead plates inside start corroding and warping. Basically, the hotter it gets, the faster your battery eats itself alive. For every 15 degrees above 77 degrees, that internal damage roughly doubles in speed. The engine bay on your Chevy during a hot summer day can easily hit 140 degrees or more. I have seen black Tahoes and Suburbans parked in the sun where the battery compartment was reading over 160 degrees on a thermal gun. The numbers tell the whole story. Batteries in northern states last an average of about 58 months. In southern states, that drops to under 41 months. In places like Arizona and Florida, some batteries do not even make it 2 years. So what can you actually do about it? First, if your Chevy came with a factory battery insulation sleeve or heat shield, always reinstall it when you put in a new battery. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen people throw that sleeve away during a battery swap because they did not know what it was. Removing it can cut battery life dramatically. Second, park in shade or in a garage whenever you can. That alone reduces battery compartment temperatures by 20 to 30 degrees. Third, you can buy an aftermarket heat shield for about $20 that sits between the battery and the nearest heat source. For the cost of a fast food meal, you could add a year or two of battery life. By the way, some Chevy engineers clearly understood this problem because they moved the battery out of the engine bay entirely on certain models. The Cruze puts it in the trunk, the Traverse tucks it under the floor, even the Chevy SS hides it in the back. If your model has the battery up front near the engine, heat management matters even more. Number 5. Your Chevy has a parasitic drain problem, and it might be built in. This is the Chevrolet-specific tip you will not hear in a generic battery video. Your Chevy's electrical system has something called the body control module, and it basically runs the show. When any smaller module in your Chevy stays awake after you shut the engine off, like a seat memory controller, a door module, or the OnStar unit, it wakes up the body control module, which then wakes up everything else. It is like one person's alarm clock going off in an apartment building and waking up every single tenant. On a healthy Chevy, the battery drain with the engine off should be tiny. We are talking under 20 milliamps. If something is pulling more than 40 milliamps, you have a problem. But here is the catch. Some modules on Chevrolet trucks take up to 4 hours to fully go to sleep. The climate control module on some Silverados and Tahoes stays active for over 4 hours after you turn the key off, and GM considers that normal. The biggest offender I see in the shop is the OnStar module. Even if you have never paid for an OnStar subscription, that module is still running in the background. GM actually issued a customer satisfaction program because the module can drain your battery if the vehicle sits for about 4 days without starting. A malfunctioning OnStar unit can draw enough current to kill a battery overnight. If your Chevy battery keeps dying and you cannot figure out why, the 3 things to check in order are the body control module, the radio or infotainment system, and the OnStar module. Also check for aftermarket accessories like dash cams, phone chargers plugged into always-on power outlets, or diagnostic tools left in the port under the dash. Any of those can keep the entire electrical system from going to sleep. If you want to test this yourself, grab an amp clamp that reads milliamps and clip it around the negative battery cable with the engine off and all the doors shut. Put the key fob inside the house so it is not accidentally waking up the keyless entry. Then walk away for about 30 minutes and come back and check the reading. If it is sitting above 40 milliamps, something in your Chevy is staying awake that should not be. Number 6. Get a battery maintainer, not a trickle charger. This is the single best purchase you can make for battery longevity, and it costs about $30. But there is an important distinction that trips people up. A trickle charger pushes a constant low current into your battery without ever checking the voltage. Leave it connected too long and it will overcharge the battery, boil off the electrolyte, and destroy it. I have seen more batteries killed by trickle chargers left on over a long weekend than I care to count. A battery maintainer, also called a smart charger or float charger, uses a microprocessor to monitor your battery's voltage. It charges to full, then completely stops. When the voltage naturally drops a little from sitting, it kicks back on just enough to top it off. You can leave a quality maintainer connected for months without any risk of damage. The ones I recommend are the Battery Tender Plus and the Noco Genius One. They cost around $25 to $40. I see Corvette owners on forums who have kept their original factory battery alive for 15 years, using nothing but a battery tender connected whenever the car sits. That is not an exaggeration. If your Chevy sits for more than 2 weeks between drives, a maintainer is not optional. It is the difference between a 3-year battery and a 7-year battery. Hook it up in the garage, forget about it, and let it do the work. Number 7. Learn your voltage numbers. This one takes 30 seconds with a cheap multimeter clipped to your battery posts, and it tells you more about your battery's health than anything else. You only need to remember 3 numbers. 12.6 volts means fully charged. That is your target. 12.4 volts means you are getting low and should charge it soon. Anything below 12 volts means your battery is actively dying. Think of it like a fuel gauge. 12.6 is a full tank, 12.4 is a quarter tank, and below 12 means you are running on fumes and doing real damage every hour you leave it. The one number to tattoo on your brain is 12.4. Stay above that and you are in good shape. With the engine running, you want to see somewhere between 13.5 and 14.8 volts on that multimeter screen. Below 13.5 volts means your alternator is falling behind. Above 15 volts means something is overcharging the battery, which cooks it from the inside. A basic multimeter costs $10 to $15, and it pays for itself the first time you catch a low reading before you end up stranded. But even a perfectly maintained battery is worthless if you bought the wrong one in the first place. Number 8. Buy the right battery and know when to replace it. Brand loyalty with car batteries is mostly a waste of energy, and here is why. One company called Clarios makes over 40% of the car batteries sold in this country. Diehard, Everstart at Walmart, Duralast at AutoZone, and Interstate at Costco all come off the same production lines with different stickers and different warranties. AC Delco, which is GM's own brand, has been manufactured by Clarios and by Atlas BX overseas. What actually matters is getting the correct group size for your Chevy. Group 48, also called H6, covers most of the Chevrolet lineup, from the Silverado 1500 all the way down to the Trailblazer. The bigger trucks and SUV models like the Tahoe, Suburban, and the Duramax diesel Use a larger group 49 or H8. Your owner's manual will tell you exactly which one you need, or just ask at the parts counter. The other number to pay attention to on the label is CCA, which stands for cold cranking amps. That is how much starting power the battery has in cold weather. When that number drops below 80% of what the label says, it's time for a new one. Any auto parts store will test this for free in about 2 minutes. Pay attention to the warning signs. If your Chevy is cranking slower than usual, if headlights are flickering, if you see a swollen or bloated battery case, or if corrosion keeps coming back right after you cleaned it, get that battery tested. Once it hits 3 years old, I'd test it at every oil change. 2 years if you live somewhere hot. Now this catches a lot of Chevy owners off guard. If your Chevy has auto start stop technology, it came with an AGM battery from the factory. AGM stands for absorbed glass mat, and it is a completely different animal than a regular flooded battery. It is built tougher, it recharges way faster, and it can handle your engine shutting off and restarting over and over all day long without breaking a sweat. Never put a regular flooded battery in a start-stop Chevy. The flooded battery cannot handle the workload and it will fail fast. If your Chevy came with AGM, replace it with AGM. That is non-negotiable. If you take one thing from this video, make it this. A $30 battery maintainer and 5 minutes of terminal cleaning at every oil change will do more for your battery than any expensive brand name ever will. That is the real secret to a 10-year battery in your Chevy. If you want to know what other hidden maintenance your Chevy needs that the dealership won't tell you about, that video is on screen right now.